Hi everyone. Today's tutorial is about double half hitch macrame. I'm Dilker. My company is Moss Hollow Pottery. This is a companion video for the book that Gail Dilker and I have written called Check Glass Inspirations. Now this double half hitch project, generally in macrame when you see it, it's going to look like this. It's this fan version. And it's usually made with seed beads, because some uniformity is a good thing, or it's easier to work out how to put different size beads in when you have seed beads. We don't have that option when we're working with the check glass mixes. So I have put a 6-strand project, which is what these two are, in the book, freeform, using daggers and all kinds of different sizes of beads. But this little 3-strand one over here is the one I'm going to show you today, because it's fairly easy to do with the beads that come in some of these mixes. One of the things that I do want to show you, though, before we go into it, is this one is very typical. This is what you would normally see. It's got beads coming here in the fan, which means that those beads have been put on the core cords. This is the tire cord coming across, and this one I made 2 rows of half hitches. And you'll see that this one doesn't have a bead out here on the corner. And the important about that is that all of the beads on this one were strung onto the core cords. Whoops, these little magnets pick up everything. This one is a little bit different. You can see that it has a bead out here. Those beads have actually been strung on the tying cord before it comes across to do the row of, it looks like I may have this one upside down. There it goes. Before I come across to make this row of half hitches. So the one that we're going to do today actually puts a bead out here, and then because it only has 2 strands in here, this one has no beads and this has beads on it. You'll see what that means in just a minute. This is one of the projects that's actually in the book. This particular set of the mix that I got had a 4mm fire polish and a 3mm in it. I enhanced it with size 11/0 seed beads, and that's exactly what's going to happen with the mix today. So let me show you what we've got here. Ta-da! All right, this is the mix, and it was a 1-pound mix from Jewel School. And when you have a bunch of little beads, you get a lot of beads in your 1-pound mix. I chose, let's put that aside. I chose a 4mm seed bead in sort of a periwinkle. This is a fire polish. It's a black, which has an AB on it, AB finish. And those are the 2 beads that came from the mix. I'm going to supplement them with an 11/0 seed bead. And since these are in a tube, I'm going to assume that they're Miyukis. I'm using Tex 210 Eslon. I've chosen the Montana. When I'm working something small like this, I find that having a cord that is not too loud, either on the light side or the dark side, tends to work well and lets the beads speak. So, what I have done for a bracelet, I'm using the mini macrame board because this is a good size board when you're working with this kind of a project in a bracelet. And I have pulled 3 36-inch lengths of Eslon. That's more than I'm going to need, but if you find that the ends fray as you're working it, it'll give you plenty that you can trim the ends off as you go along. So what I've done is I've tied a knot in my 3. I put it in the back of the board, pulled it through to the front of the board. I have 1 cord coming down the center, 2 cords coming out to the side to start. The reason for that is I need to make some square knot so that I have a space to put my ribbon crimp on. And I find that my ribbon crimp, it's 5mm crimp, is perfect to go over 3 square knots. Before I put this away, let me show you one more thing. This set of findings that I'm using, and I do use these little magnets a lot on this bracelet because I like to stack these bracelets. So from the ribbon crimp to ribbon crimp is 1 inch. Each one of the squares on this board is a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to pick up 1 inch with my findings So I need a 6.5-inch bracelet. I need enough beads to do 5.5 inches of beaded bracelet. In this particular case, I needed 20, I think it was 23 beads. You'll need to figure that out as you go along. See how many beads that you need in an inch for however long it is you want to make your bracelet. Okay, so anyway, I need to start with the square knot. Square knot on the board is left over right, right over left, right? Everybody knows that. So I'm going to start with my right hand cord. I'm going to pass it under this cord, under the cord, and then it needs to lay over top of this left hand cord. Pick up the left hand cord, bring it through the loop that was made by your right hand cord, and pull it tight. That's 1/2 of a square knot. That's the right over left part. Now we need to do the left over right part. So I'm going to take my left hand cord, pass it under the cord, make sure that it lays over this right hand cord, bring the right hand cord over the core and through the loop, and pull it tight, and that's 1 square knot. And I need to do that 2 more times. So right goes under, then it goes over with the left hand coming through, left goes under, then it goes over the other cord comes through. That's 2 full square knots. I'm going to do 1 more full square knot. Right goes under, goes over the left, bring the left hand through the loop. That's 1/2, and under, and the opposite comes through, and I have 3 complete square knots, and that's enough for me. What I'll do is glue it, and it lets me cut it so that I have a nice clean end to just put into that ribbon crimp. All right, now comes the fun part, which is we get to start to add the beads. What happens on this double half hitch is I'm going to bring the right hand cord down and stick it in it's in the bottom next to the other one that was down there beside it. The cord that's loose is always the core cord. This is the one that you will be tying knots around, and it comes out at a 45-degree angle over top of. These are the tying cords. These are the cords that we'll use to tie knots with. Now, if you'll remember at the top of the video, I said this particular project puts a bead on the cord. And I've decided that I'm going to put the 3mm AB finished fire polish on that cord. Let me see if I can find that hole. So before I pull this cord across, I load a bead. And this is the advantage of this board, because now I can bring that cord out to a 45-degree angle. I can stick it out there and I don't have to worry about it. All right, half hitch. Whichever direction your cord is coming, you're going to start on the opposite side as your first tire. So this is coming out to the right. I'm going to start with my left-hand most cord. A half hitch is nothing but bring the end over the core and then just make that loop. So that's 1/2 hitch. Again, the end just comes over the core, make the loop. That's 2 half hitches. A double half hitch is not a separate knot. A double half hitch is 2 half hitches. All right, now this next part, because of, let me just kind of snug this up a little bit. Because of the length that I have here, the 4mm fire polish by itself is not quite enough. So what I find is if I put a seed bead, a fire polish, and a seed bead, I'm in good shape. So let me see if I can pick up a seed bead here. Let me dump this over here on this mat. So I have a seed bead. I'm putting on the 4mm fire polish. I'm going to pick up one more seed bead. And I'm going to slide all 3 of those beads as a single unit up and under this cord. So I seem to have lost one of my seeds. Let me see what I got here. Nope, I lost a seed when I brought it over. Let me grab this. Okay, so I have a seed bead, fire polish, a seed bead. This cord that these beads are on need to tie 2 half hitches over the cord. So the half hitch again is just over and through the loop it makes. That's 1 half hitch. And that's 2 half hitch. And this guy goes down to the same notch on the bottom he came out of. Now I just need to do the same thing all over again, going the other way. This cord is now going to come out to this side. This is my cord. The cord gets a 3mm fire polish. Then it gets pulled out to the left-hand side of the board. And again, you're pulling this out at a 45-degree angle. If it crosses these squares at about the same spot, you've got 45 degrees. So it came out to the left. I'm going to start with my right-handmost cord. The right-hand cord, the end goes over and under, and then you just pull it up tight. That's, whoops. See if that guy can stay up there. This will sometimes happen. You want that bead to stay on the outside of the knot. See, this knot wants to slide on the inside of that bead. Let me pull that out. I'm going to take some of the tension off of the cord and do this again. So there's 1, there's 2 half hitch, so that's my double half hitch. Put it back down the notch it came from, take the next cord out. It has to have a seed bead, a 4mm fire polish, and a seed bead. A 4mm. And a seed bead. This is the size Tex 210 Eslon, and it is just exactly the right size for a size 11 seed bead, so it's a little snug. You want to make sure that you have a point cut on the end of your cord. So there's 1 half hitch. Here's my second half hitch. And I'm complete with that row. I'm going to do one more row, then I'm going to put you on hold. This is the new cord. It has to come across this way. So in order to make that work, repeat our pattern. We have to put that 3mm fire polish on this cord. And again, this Tex 210 just fits through the hole in that bead. Bring it out at the 45-degree angle. Doesn't have to be too tight, or like the last time you'll lose it. Okay, it's coming out to the right. I have to start with my leftmost cord. One half hitch. 2 half hitches makes my double. The next cord, this next cord has to have a seed bead, a 4mm, and a seed bead. So it's going to have a seed bead, 4mm and a seed bead. And slide them up as a unit. Make sure they stay under the core, and then just tie your half hitches. Now, I'm going to go ahead and finish this. I'm going to put you on hold, but before I do that, I'll point out a design option for you here. If you have some top drilled beads in your mix, say a dagger or just a drop bead, the teardrop beads, those tiny daggers are especially effective in this. If you put a drop bead where I've put this small fire polish, it will hang out here at the side, and it creates this little fringe going down, and it's kind of fun. I like to play around with that. If you're lucky enough, though, to get a mix that's got a bunch of small beads in it, I could easily put the 4mm here and a 6mm over here. It would have made probably I would have had to put maybe 2 seed beads in here in order to make the design work. But that's kind of up to you, and it's sort of up to what the beads are in your mix. Anyway, I'm going to put you on hold. I'm going to finish. I'll come back and show you how to finish this thing. Okay, so I finished the piece. As you can see, I've made my 5.5 inches with the beads. Now, as you work this and you get down to the bottom of the board, if you're making, say, a 9-inch bracelet, you may not have enough notches here on the side to come out at a 45-degree angle. And the way you solve that is just take the bracelet off the top of the board, slide it up, and use a couple of pins to pin it in place. And then you can continue to work it longer as you need to go down. If I'm doing a wrap bracelet, say 3 wraps, and even on the full-size macrame board, it's not long enough. So that's what I do. I just move it up. Anyway, on this, I have finished with 3 square knots, just as I started with 3 square knots. And oops, I just put my scissors in the glue. What I need to do is put the end caps on, and then the clasp, and I use these little magnets. And one of the reasons I use the magnets is because this bracelet that I'm wearing is the same thing. It's macrame with a 2-hole bead. It has the magnet here. Watch what happens when I put this next one on. If I turn it around, those magnets will marry up to one another, and I can stack them up, and I have a minor set on the bottom here. It's not like I have to have a box clasp or something that's really large that's on the bottom. And what that does is it keeps everything kind of in place, so I don't end up with any of the clasps out of order. Anyway, that's just, what I like. These are 5mm ribbon crimps. They're the smallest ones that they have available. I like them for this size bracelet, and I prefer this flat crimp as opposed to a Kumihimo end cap on this. Just is less of a design element. You will see that these little guys have teeth on them. I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but they have teeth on them. So they will grab into the thread as you're working with it, but you can't cut this and not have some of the cords come undone. So what I do is I add glue, and I'm just using super glue gel over here. You can use any glue that you want on this, because the glue is not what holds the crimp in place. It's what keeps the cords from unraveling when I cut it to put the crimp in place. So there's that. Let me get a pair of pliers here. These pliers don't have springs in them. Okay, so put my magnifiers on. And what I'm going to do is just cut that cord. I'm going to pick up the crimp. I'm going to snug it right down to where the bead is, and then just give it a good crimp. That one's off center a little bit. Give it a good crimp on both sides. Then you'll just add your jump ring and your clasp. Do the same thing to the other end. Pick up some glue. Toothpick is my my preferred glue delivery vehicle. Looks like the cardstock that I'm using has some color that's coming off on it. Okay, so we're just going to give that a cut. Pick up the crimp. Just slide it right on there. Give it a good crimp. Turn it over, give it a crimp the other way. And then just add jump rings and whatever clasp that you want on it. Obviously, I'm going to use this little magnet. And just so you can see something, these magnets are small, but here's how strong they are. You can literally take the silverware away from a table at dinner time with these guys. I just love them. I sell them on my website, and I call them extremely small but extremely strong. They come in a couple of different colorways. Anyway, that's the project. That's a simple 3-string double half hitch. Give it a try. Have some fun with it.